Okay, so it's 2/19/24. We're in the shop, obviously, so you see what this is titled. Everything All at Once, Overwhelming, and it will be. We have a lot to cover here. I mean, there's going to be so much information. This will probably be multiple videos, but it's also going to be really cool. So I truly hardly even know where to start. I think I'll start right here. So you see this? You don't see these in our shop, right? And why don't you? And I was just kind of making fun of it, but for me, this would be like really good to beat a coyote to death, right? But I like classical, traditional style rifles, right? So a rifle should look a certain way. It should feel a certain way. It should carry a certain way. It should be balanced a certain way. And if you want to know what that is, go down to the Jack O'Connor Center, walk in and pick up one of his Winchester Model 70s, and you will know what I'm talking about. Right. Now, obviously, we use synthetic stocks. Why do we use synthetic stocks? Because they're stable. They're stable and they're tough. They're hard to break, etc. So we use synthetic stocks. Really, this is an important piece of information. The best stocks, really, the guys who are really serious about accuracy use laminated, multi-directional laminated wood stocks. You go to any really serious F-class match or even 1,000-yard bench rest, you'll probably see more laminated wood stocks there than any other type of stock. So these chassis, I'm gonna be so ostracized. By the way, this is Jason, and he's here. This is his. Okay, so I got to tell you this. He talked me into it. I did. Kinda. And we made a deal, right? We made a deal. The deal was, I told him. He said, "Can you do it?" And I said, "Of course I can do it." Do you want to do it? No, I don't want to do it. But there's so much to cover and so much to learn from this. That you drove over 3 hours to get here, right?
I did.
So he drove 3 hours to get here. This is his stuff. He already purchased it, right? I told him, you bring everything here and we will do it together, which like he thinks this is great. And in a way I do too, because with someone to interact with, he's going to ask all kind of questions. By the way, you can interrupt at any time. You think of something, you tell me.
I will.
So this is why we're going to be all over the place here today. But I'm going to give you my view on these chassis. Okay, this is what I think, and I've been around a long time watching this industry. A normal gun that is in a laminated wood stock or is in a synthetic stock, Macmillan, Manners, whatever, it doesn't matter. To get the metalwork to go into that stock properly and to have it bedded properly is never less than a 2-day process. And it's often, what do you think, Vicky? Sometimes 4 days. I'm messing around with bedding for 4 days. Bedding is a lot of work. It takes a lot of knowledge, and it's just hard. Bedding is hard to get it really right and get it beautiful and to make sure, what you realize bedding, the whole purpose is to support the metalwork in as stress-free manner as possible because you got bolts holding it down, right? Well, here's the issue. This is a piece of aluminum, right? It's a hunk of aluminum. You're asking, you know what, I got to stop. I got to stop right there. So a piece of steel and a piece of aluminum are two dissimilar metals, okay? If you put a piece of steel in a piece of aluminum, there's going to be bad reactions between the two. And I don't want to go too deep into that. Even I have a real issue, and I don't show guys some of this. All right, oh, wait, you know what? I better slow down right here, too. I'm going to start doing this at the beginning of every video. I want to move, so pay attention. I want to move away from building hunting guns. I want to build competition guns primarily. So if you're a short-range bench rest shooter, a 600-yard bench rest shooter, I think that's an awesome discipline, or a 1,000-yard bench rest shooter, or an F-class shooter, I'm not laying on my stomach in the dirt, okay? If you guys want to do that, that's up to you, okay? I'm too old and fat for that, all right? And this is actually, I'm not fat. I had an umbilical hernia, and they screwed me up. Don't let them put mesh in you, all right? That's back to the subject. If you pillar bed and you put the pillars in contact with the receiver, you build that gun, then you go take that gun apart 10 years later, guess what? You will either see that it has corroded or eroded, eaten into the top of the pillar and or the actual receiver. I have taken apart many, many Remington 700s that were pillar bedded by other people, and is it better than not bedding? Yes. And does pulling down onto a pillar give you a solid stop with your bolt? Yes. But it's not ideal. It is not ideal, and there's a better way. Now, that's a segue right into this next section, the better way. I can show you a better way, and here's what I want to do. I want to stop building hunting guns. I want to concentrate on competition guns, but what I really want to do now is I want to start teaching. We've had students here before. I would like to have, very similar to what Gordy Gritters does, I would like to have a schedule of men or women, or yeah, lots of women. I would rather have men, Vicky's frowning, all those former playmates that want to learn how to build guns. Come here. This is where we'll teach you. Okay, so
you're gonna get a million subscribers just from that alone.
This is the former playmate gun building school. No, I want to teach guys, and I want to teach guys. It doesn't matter to me whether it's one-on-one, one-on-two, maybe 3. I don't really think more than about 4 guys at a time. And this is what I'm going to do. Now listen to what I'm going to say, because everybody's going to be like, what the heck's he talking about? He must be crazy. Yeah. You can come as long as you want. I don't care. You want to come here for 1 day? That's fine. You want to come for a week? That's fine. We actually had a man here. He was here a month, wasn't he, Vicki?
Wow.
Yeah, we had a doctor here that was here a month one time, orthopedic surgeon, nice guy. The man, that gun hammered, by the way. Amazing. That's a whole other story. He was here a month. It was really cool. Well, always said to me, he didn't talk very much, very smart man. I mean, obviously accomplished, made more money in his life than I could make in 10 lifetimes. And all he said when he was done is, now I know why my guns don't shoot. And he went away, and I guess he builds his own guns. But anyways, that was interesting. But you can come for a day, a week, a month. Listen carefully now. If you want to come here for 2 years and then buy me out, come here for 2 years and buy me out. I'll teach you every single thing I know that I could teach you in 2 years, which might actually be more than what you can learn even in 2 years. But I will help you, and you just take over. Buy the whole thing out. I'm getting old and tired. Okay, but I really want to teach. So you can come for any length of time you want, and this is the crazy part. You can pay me whatever you want. Whatever you want. I don't care. You come here, if you're here a day and you want to give me $20, and I'll be like, okay, that was great, nice to meet you, don't come back. You see what I'm saying? It's got to be equitable. It's got to be reasonable. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be outrageous. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like, oh, well, it's $500 a day. None of that crap. It's whatever is logical, whatever is common sense, whatever you can afford. I don't care. I'd rather teach for free now than build guns for free, because basically that's what it is. So okay, now back to this. In my opinion, pillars are better, by the way, if they're on flat-bottomed receivers. But pillars on concave and convex, that doesn't work. But anyways, listen, this is where I'm going with this chassis. I actually believe that these exist because of a bunch of younger guys with CNC machines realized, hey, wow, we can grab a piece of aluminum, a hunk of aluminum that basically the material probably didn't cost $20. We can stick it in our zillion-dollar CNC machine, which they do have to pay for. They can basically hit the button, because it's just a chassis, and walk away, and maybe they can make, I don't know, they can make 5, 10, 20, 30 of these things a day, and in my opinion, people were foolish enough to give them $1,000 for it. To me, that is insane. But there's even a part of this that's worse. We actually had Macmillan tell us this. I was having a talk with the guys at Macmillan. They said that most of the people that are buying all these, because this is cutting into the entire industry. This is actually almost becoming the industry. They said they do the metal work, they just take the receiver, bolt it in. They just bolt it in. Well, that is like anywhere from 2 to 4 days. Let's just call it 40 hours. That's 40 hours of labor that they didn't put into the gun. But guess what? They're going to charge you the exact same amount of money for a completed gun, maybe even more, because this stuff's expensive, than I would charge for a traditional Macmillan Manor stock gun. So this is what I think. And I'm cynical. Everybody knows that. I think the whole thing, this whole entire chassis fad, and I do believe it's a fad, was completely driven by the market and money. That's what I think it was. It's just money. It's like, wow, we can make a whole bunch more money. It's a whole new thing. I am personally disappointed. Now, but.
And video games.
Yes. Okay, but this is what he wants. So here's where we went with this, and we're going to get deeper into this later. I said to him, the only way that you can actually do a chassis gun properly, because there's really no way to bed this. I mean, you could drill a whole bunch of holes in here, put it in the milling machine. You could try bedding the recoil lug. There's things you can do. But really, to do it properly, and Vicki, you should look here because this is important, is either the chassis is built to fit the receiver, or the receiver is built to fit the chassis. And we're not talking like down to 5,000ths. We're talking like down to half a thou. Because if the metalwork can move, if the metalwork can move in the chassis at all, I mean, that's the whole point of bedding. The point of bedding is that the metalwork and the stock essentially become one. Like they become one. There is no movement at all. 0, 0, 0, 0. No movement. All right. If you just bolt a receiver in, they have to fit. Or it's not going to shoot to its potential. So here's the thing. Are there guys out there with chassis guns? Yes, lots of them. I have turned away so many chassis builds you can't believe it. Do some of the guns shoot? Yes, some of the guns shoot. But do you see chassis guns at short-range bench rest? Hell no. Do you see chassis guns at 600-yard bench rest? Hell no. Do you see chassis guns at 1,000-yard bench rest where they're competitive? Hell no. The only place you see them is maybe some guys trying to use them at F-class, tube guns, which those can be made to shoot, or, I hate to say it, PRS, precision rifle shooting. The whole PRS game, right? But you got to realize, guys, if you have the talent and the skill, you could be national PRS champion with a gun that shoots half-inch. Absolutely. Absolutely, because it is so much more the shooter and his skill. It is not a precision shooting game. If all you're trying to do is hit this, if you're trying to hit this at 1,000 yards and all you have to do is hit it, well, you can do that with a half-minute gun. But if you're trying to put 5 shots on there in a group that's 1.5 inches at 1,000 yards, you cannot do that with a half-inch gun. You have to have a gun that'll shoot 1 or 2/10 of an inch at most. Because you realize, theoretically, 1/10 of an inch at 100 is an inch at 1,000, right? And it's magnified more than that because of the conditions. All right. So all the PRS guys that are shooting these things, my immediate thought is, say they had a great barrel. It's a great barrel. And say they had a really great receiver. And the guy who did the metalwork did a great job. Everything straight, square, concentric. Then they take it and they bolt it in here. They just bolt it in, stick 2 screws in there and like, oh, let's go shoot. And they go out there and shoot and say the gun shoots. Say it shoots half-inch. Or here's the other thing. They're using a lot of cartridges that are inherently accurate. Say they're using a 6BR or a 6-Dasher or 6BRX or 6BRA or 6XC. All those cartridges are known to be able to shoot down to 1/4 of an inch. So if you put a really great barrel with a really great receiver and you just bolt it in here, you take it out and shoot it, say it shoots 3/10 of an inch. All right, a lot of guys would be thrilled with that. The thought that goes through my head is, what was the gun actually capable of? What was the barrel actually capable of? Because unless the receiver fits perfectly in there, you gave up some accuracy, which is one of the reasons why I don't like these. Now, here's where this went, and this is the really cool part about this. So when we first had contact on the phone, and I'm talking to him about this, and he wants me to do it, and I told him all this. I'm like, the issue is the receiver must fit the chassis. And I said, the very best way to do that, since you already have the chassis, and there's going to be another chassis build. He has another one, by the way. I said, go to Bat. Go to Bat. He only lives an hour away from Bat, right? I said, go down to Bat. Go in and see Daryl Tom. I said, go in there and bring your chassis with you, both of them, and say to him, I want receivers that fit my chassis. And so we have one right here that Daryl swears fits. We will find that out a little bit later. But here's the super cool part. So your other chassis, they literally are building you a receiver to fit it.
He's going to take off from one of his existing production models.
Right.
But it needed to be modified to fit that existing chassis.
So, and you told me they literally sat down there, took a whole bunch of measurements. Yep. They get on the CAD program, CAD, and they're going to build a receiver to fit the chassis. Well, that's like hallelujah moment, you understand? If we can get, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll go back. If we can get receiver manufacturers to manufacture receivers to fit specific stocks, great. If we can get the stock guys to build stocks that fit, you got to understand, fit the receivers, all right, I can get on the bandwagon, I can get with the program here. The issue is we can't take $500 or $1,000 barrels and $2,000 receivers, and what's this worth?
It's about $1,100.
Okay, $1,100 chassis, put them all together, and the best they'll shoot's half-inch. That is, in my opinion, for me, that's a total waste of time. That is a total waste of time. You put all that time, energy, and work into it, you get half-inch. Big deal, okay, big deal. So if we can get this all to work, receivers that fit, metalwork that fits chassis, and the guys want these, I don't see, if we can get them to shoot, really shoot to the potential of the barrel, then, you know, if you want to carry this around, if this is what you like, that's up to you. I'd still rather have a traditional style stock. That's just what I've been carrying for 50 years. So the point is we're going to make a go of it. So now what this video is going to be about is, because there's so much stuff we have to cover here, is we're going to build a gun. We're going to build a gun. You're staying, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
He's staying here. So we're going to build a gun and go over, because we don't even know for sure what cartridge we're using. Not for sure yet. And we're going to go through all this stuff and show it all to you. So why don't you just hand me that receiver right there, not the scope. Okay, now I got to tell you guys, this is the first time that I've ever held one of these. So this is, what they call this? A bat what?
Vesper.
V-E-S-P-E-R?
That's correct.
V-E-S-P-E-R. This is a bat Vesper. Okay. And so you realize what this is. This is what I would say this was. This was either an HR or a TR that they basically have cut away all the steel. In other words, this is half, I don't know how much it weighs. Do you know how much it weighs?
Yeah, I'm looking.
I'd say it weighs about half of what an HR weighs. Now I usually use HRs. And this has a mag bolt face on it. It has an ejector and an M16 extractor. The bolt is actually not that much different. Vesper. Yeah, right, Vicki, you might as well just go ahead and show this. There, show it to them right there. Now, of course, I always have to get myself in trouble. So here's what I'm going to say. Remember, everything I do, everything I think is accuracy oriented. So in any receiver that I'm going to own, I want more steel, not less. More, not less. I want more strength, not less. So if you take an HR, And there's obviously a lot of machining in this. And you cut this all away, and it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. This thing looks totally beautiful. To me, this is going in the opposite direction that you should be going. You should be going the other way. I want more rigidity. I want more strength. I want more everything. So evidently, Bat decided to do this because Bat's in business to sell receivers. And I hate to say this, but this is the truth. Bench rest is dying. Completely dying. Short-range bench rest, there's no young guys going into it. Not none, but I'm making general statements. 600-yard bench rest, some interest, but like 1,000-yard bench rest, when we used to go over to Missoula to the Deep Creek range, say even 6, 8 years ago, there might be 100 guys there. You go over there right now, there's 30. It's like nobody's there anymore. So Bat's in business to sell high-quality receivers, and indeed, this looks really nice. But if nobody's buying them, then they have to go the direction that people want. So I understand it. It's not that I approve of it, but I understand it. All right, so what we're going to find out is, though, and this will be further down the road, is how is this going to fit in here? And, of course, we'll have to put the bolts in it. And when we put the bolts in it, we'll see. I mean, I can already tell you that it is way tighter than any, because I've done this before with guys that wanted me to do this. And usually I set the receiver down in there, and it's just like, it's like putting a size 9 foot in a size 13 shoe, because you got to realize there's tolerances. So that's how they get around it. They just make either the receiver's undersized or the chassis is way oversized. That way they'll all bolt up, right? So this is much tighter than what I've ever seen before. So that's encouraging, I will say that. I can't feel any movement. We'll see when we put the bolts in it. I can't feel any movement front to rear. So, and the other thing is, the way this is built, you actually could bed the tang on this. Yep. So I'll have to think about that. And see, there's something else. Right.
There was an interference on here.
Oh, I see it hitting. Yep. All right, so you see he saw that right away. So obviously this has to go in the mill, and we have to cut a small half radius out of that. Or I don't think I want to mess with the bolt, with the screw. Yeah. So we got to put something right there. But it's that the fact that that's hitting and it feels that good is actually pretty amazing. Well, yeah, I don't know about that, though. Anyways, the point is, though, you see there's quite a bit of room here. Mm-hmm. And you can see they stuck an end mill in there. We could even go in there and we could mill this out, mill a hole here, a hole here, a hole here. And depending on if it needs it, we could very easily bed that tang also. This, I don't really think you can do anything up there. Anyways, the point is it might work. It might work. That's why we're doing this. We want to find out. All right. Okay, we'll move on to another subject. So that's that. Let me see your barrel, please.
Let me get this one opened up.
You can stop for a minute, Vic, if you want. Oh, he's almost got it, so you can just edit it. Wow, that terrifies me.
This goes against everything he's talked me about. Carbon barrel.
Yeah.
All right, you ready? Are you running?
I'm running.
Okay, so here you see what it is. This is, and you know what? It doesn't matter the name. You can see the box. All right, so here's you realize we have lost, over the past 5 years, I bet you we've lost 50% of our business because guys call me up and say, Doesn't matter what they say. They say, I have a carbon barrel. Now, here's the first thing I'll say. If I was going to have a carbon barrel, it'd be a Bartlein. And if I'm going to have it, why a Bartlein? Well, Bartleins make awesome barrels, okay? And so I would have a Bartlein. But I've heard that some of these shoot. And I've also heard that some of them don't. But I'm going to go straight back to the same place. You realize in all competition, in all shooting competitions, you have weight limits for guns. Short range bench rest, 10.5, 13.5 pound guns. 600, I think it's either 17.5 or they might have recently raised it because they just raised it in 1,000-yard bench rest too. It used to be light gun was 17.5. I think they raised it to 21, I think. Don't quote me on that. The point is all competition, and F class has weight limits too. Even F open, I think that's up to, don't quote me, it's 20 something. So everybody that's competing has weight classes. So they want to save weight, right? Okay. If they want to save weight, carbon fiber barrels, the whole purpose of them is this is lighter, right? So if you wanted to put more weight in your scope or more weight in your stock or more weight in your rings or whatever, you would use a carbon fiber barrel, right? Makes sense, right? Guess what? Nobody. There is no one shooting bench rest that I know of with a carbon fiber barrel. And if they try it, they don't win. Okay, see, that's the thing. What wins? So that's why I haven't used them. Guys will call me, say, I have this certain barrel, will you build this gun? I say no. They say, why? I say, because they don't win. They don't win. If they start winning bench rest matches, I will start using them. All right, well, Jason here already bought this. Remember, he already bought it. And he has it. We might as well try it. But this is what I think, okay? This is, there's a whole bunch of barrels laying there, but this is a Bartlein 1-in-9-3, 30 caliber. This is for 245 grain bullets, right? So you see this, and this happens to be shallow flute. We do not do deep fluting anymore. Again, too much to go into. That's why we're jumping around everywhere in this video. This is a beautiful barrel, very expensive barrel. Not as expensive as that. But I want you to think about this. So let's just say this barrel is actually capable of 1/10 of an inch. We don't know if it is, but let's just say it is. This is a 1/10 of an inch barrel, or let's say 2/10. But it'll put 5 shots in 2/10 of an inch fairly consistently. So we got this beautiful barrel, right? Then we grab it here, and then we cut all this metal away. We take it all away until it's down to the size of a pencil in there, right? Now, anybody that knows anything about metal or machining realizes that's the worst thing you could possibly do to a really great barrel. That's the whole reason that these are cut rifle, right? Not button, because we don't want any stress in this barrel. And this barrel happened to have been cryoed, by the way. So you got this really great barrel. You put it in the lathe, you cut it down to almost nothing. And then you take it and you wrap it with carbon fiber. All right, I'm going to tell you what I think. That's stupid. Okay? That is stupid. That's the dumbest thing you could ever possibly do. Okay? And why? Say what you want. This is also a fad. You know how you know it's a fad? Because nobody wins with them. That's why. It's a fad. Okay? And plus, they get like, what'd you pay for this?
North of $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
$1,000 for a barrel. Okay? So you think about it. A lot of guys, you have to understand something here, people. A lot of these guys that are making, say, chassis, or they're making carbon fiber barrels, or they're making whatever, they would be just as happy making toilet seats. If they could make more money building and selling toilet seats, they'd be making toilet seats. Okay? It doesn't matter. It's about product and selling it, right? Making it, marketing it, selling it, right? So you can get $1,000 for this thing.
We have a backup.
If I go to the SHOT Show, I'll probably probably can't say that word. She'll have to. The deal is, listen to me. There is so much in the market right now that has nothing to do with performance. It has nothing to do with performance. If I want to build a gun and I want it to shoot in one hole, I am buying a Krieger, a Bartlein, a Brux. That does not mean those are the only good barrels. As the button barrels, Lilja, Hart, Schillen Select, and there's guys I'll forget. There are other people that make really good barrels. But what wins all the time? What wins? You go to a 1,000-yard bench rest match. 90% of the barrels that are there and that are winning will be Bartlein or Krieger. That's what they will. You go to F class, a lot of guys shooting Brux, okay? That's what wins. So you're potentially telling me that you got a $1,000 barrel. How much is this? Approximately.
It's 1,000, roughly north of 1,000. It's $1,000.
Okay, so it's probably more, isn't it? Because our price on bats are like 1,600, 1,700.
It's
1,500?
Probably south of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just say that. So you got 1,000, 2,000, say 2,400, and this is over 1,000.
Yeah.
So you're at 3,400, and we haven't included a trigger. So 3,400.
Or the optics.
What?
Or the optics.
Well, that's not. That doesn't count though.
Yeah.
34, say 35, 36, and evidently, potentially, you want to put this brake on, right?
Yep.
Let me see that brake. Do you have any idea how much this cost?
That was an off-brand. I think I picked that up for $50.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, that's neither here nor there. The point is, brakes. We use Harl's brakes. They cost $30. Okay. The reason we use Harl's brakes is they're not perfect. That's kind of weird to say, but that's why. They're not perfect. I have to do everything to them, and I have to do it in the lathe. Right? In other words, it's not just like we need some threads, we just screw this on. I have to do everything. You realize if this, whether he paid $50 or $150, there's guys selling brakes for $150. It may be great at reducing recoil, which by the way, I got a serious problem right here. Okay? By the way, and Vicky, I might have you go get it. Look right here. Nulon Precision, right? You see Nulon Precision? Okay, Troy, I've showed it before. You can go find it later if you can. We'll put it in the video. Troy Nulon wrote a book called The Accurate Muzzle Brake. First thing he says is they must be symmetrical. You see this? We got holes on the top. We do not have holes on the bottom. He says that's an absolute no-no. Do not do that. So muzzle brake design is important. And Harl says themselves, of course they sell them, but those are really honest guys. Okay, Harl's is like on their own level also. They say this is the best design there is. Okay, but anything that's non-symmetrical, and I know there'll be 500 people saying, well, I have a non-symmetrical brake and my gun shoots pretty good. Well, how good could it shoot? See, that's the issue with everything we're about to do. When I build a gun, I start on the premise that the barrel was capable of 1/10 of an inch. I start with the premise that the receiver is going to be able to deliver that. I start with the premise that the stock and the bedding, every single part, and finally, of course, the scope is actually capable of that. Then when I take it out to shoot it, say it actually shoots 3/10 of an inch. Well, I'm very happy that I did everything I could to try to get to 1/10 of an inch. The unknown was, well, maybe the barrel was only capable of 3/10. But here's the psychology behind that. If we start with a whole bunch of parts that we only think is capable of 3/10, and then we go out and shoot it and it's 1/2 inch, you'll be like, oh, well, that's pretty good. Well, that's not what this is about.
Right.
We're trying to get the maximum performance out of each and every component.
Right.
That's the idea, right? To get the maximum amount of accuracy. So, all right, so there's that. So we're going to use this. Well, maybe we're going to use this. We don't know, because here's the issue with this. The problem is, oh, wow, this is a whole nother conversation.